We're back in the shop today making another quick jig to keep making progress on a project. Today we'll be at the table saw, so stick around and we'll check out that table saw jig.
We are the Follises, Sherry and Sean. We started turning stitches to share our creativity with you. Please follow along and see what we create next.
Hey, we're back in the shop today and we're trying to wrap up our outdoor chair project. One of the final things we need to do before assembly is to put a taper on these leg pieces. And it's a very slight 6-degree taper that we need to put on here. And basically it's just kind of shaping this edge on the inside of the leg piece back just a little bit. And it sounds simple enough, but this piece is curved, so we don't have another good reference angle to really help us align it. So we're going to create a table saw sled that'll help us hold it down, shave that edge off just a little bit. And by making the table saw sled, the advantage of that is we'll have that sled so that we can come back in the future and repeat this process very easily. I took a couple quick steps on this project before I turned the camera on. The first was grabbing a piece of scrap plywood that I had laying around here in the shop. The other was taking a scrap piece of hardwood and making a runner. So the width of the slot in the table saw is about 3/4 of an inch. It's about 3/8 of an inch deep. So I just made a quick hardboard runner. I think this is poplar or something, but anyway, and you can see I messed up a little bit as I was trimming it down for the slot. I got a little too much, so I just added some blue tape to kind of remove the slop that I had in the miter slot. The next step is to just start assembling our components, the runner and the sled itself. So the first thing I'm going to do is just drop a couple small washers in the miter slot, and all that's going to do is lift the runner up above the surface of the table, just make it a little bit easier to attach the runner to the sled. I'm going to use super glue to kind of hold it temporarily. I'm going to put a couple daubs on here in a couple different places. With the runner kind of temporarily held onto the sled, I'm just going to use a couple pilot holes. We'll come back and countersink these so that our wood screws don't rub on the bottom of the miter slot. We'll just kind of do a real quick countersink on these. Put in the screws. Just going to flip this over, and then this should just ride in this track. And that's all we want right there. So we've got the runner firmly attached to the sled. So now all we need to do is trim off this edge. So we've got the table saw blade lifted up. We'll kick it on and we'll be pretty well ready to go here in just a minute. All right, with this trimmed off, I've got a nice flush edge to the blade. And so now I have a great platform that we'll use on these curved parts, basically to affix the part to the sled where we want it in relationship to where we want to make that final cut. All right, now that we've got the part sled made, and I know I'm putting a 6-degree bevel, I've got the chair part marked. This blue tape's telling me it's the outside, and I know this edge right here, that edge I don't want to touch. So I'm going to flip it over, trim this inside edge. But I need this to be perfectly perpendicular to the blade. So with my small part sled, the purpose of this is I'm going to align this bottom edge that I don't want to touch, and I've got a 6-degree angle already set here on the saw blade, and I've already trimmed the sled to match. So I know this edge right here is exactly where that blade is cutting. So now that I know that, I align the edge I really don't want to cut, which is that outside edge. It's aligned right along here. Now I put down some blue tape on the back side of this, and all I'm going to do is trace the curve of this piece. And I'm also going to draw a line over here on this side so I know where I'm trying to align the board back to. Transfer the blue tape over here to a scrap block. I'm going to take the scrap over to the bandsaw, and we'll cut that same curve that I just traced here on the blue tape. On the part sled, I've now got a piece here that I cut at the bandsaw to kind of match the curve of my chair part, and I've got that screwed down to the sled so that as I'm going through as we're making the cut through the saw, it's got a good solid reference edge. And then out here at the end, that'll register out here at the end just to keep our part from wanting to shift as it's going through the saw. Make sure we've got the edge lined up. But now I've got a nice solid reference surface to hold the chair part firmly in place, so we'll be able to cut this one and the matching piece for the second chair, all with this one setup.
If you'd like to see some of the finished projects that we've got, check out our website at turningstitches.com. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you'll be able to see when projects are finished up.
All right, perfect. That gave us the bevel, this little slight bevel edge that we were looking for here.